I've spent many years of my career initially working out in the private sector in care of the elderly, and around 10 years ago I just decided I wanted a new challenge, so I came to work at East Lancs, and initially I worked on orthopaedics for 4 years, and when the job of maternity support worker came up here, I decided that there was no bigger change from a previous career than that and went for it. A long time ago I had cause to use a union rep myself after I felt that me and my colleagues in a particular department had been treated unfairly. Becoming a rep is something I'd always wanted to do, to try and give something back after having received good union representation myself. And one of the stewards here at East Lancs was very supportive and very encouraging in enabling me to achieve that. So initially I became a maternity support worker advocate. That's not an accredited position within the RCM, but it's basically a maternity support worker member who supports colleagues and supports the reps in recruiting maternity support workers to the union. I then decided I wanted to become more involved, so initially I became an accredited health and safety rep, and then last year I became a steward. Working with the RCM, it's been fantastic, not only because as a union rep, I want to be there to represent members, but because there is that professional body aspect of it as well. I find that the two work very well together. And it's been a fantastic experience and one that I continue to enjoy.
I think they're very good at, the negotiation and the communication and engagement with staff. I think they're very good at coming, in fact it's their role indeed, to come forward to management and say, this doesn't sound right, it doesn't sound safer perhaps, or it doesn't sound more effective. Can we talk about that? We have a level playing field that we can all make the best decisions under the best circumstances. This is not about being in each other's pockets, it's about making sure that we're all facing the same direction in terms of good care. The NHS is the best brand on the planet as far as I'm concerned, and the unions and management work very hard to make it so. All this is about patient care. If you look at the NHS or the trust that I work in, this is about providing safe, personal, effective care. So this is about effective partnership working, where unions and management can see the good in things. They can look for win-wins all the time and look at the risks and benefits for staff. If you have happy staff, with happy patients.
Obviously having your face out there, working alongside people, they feel more comfortable coming to me. People that work within my area obviously feel perhaps more comfortable approaching me with issues than perhaps another rep who they don't know as well. So it does have its positives. Sometimes, people do come to me with issues and we're able to sort them out really before they become a real problem. Whereas quite often if you work in an area where there isn't maybe a union rep just on hand, things are left to fester for quite a long time and they're not dealt with. People will come to me as soon as something starts to flag up as an issue, and then quite often it can be dealt with in a relatively simple way without having to escalate into anything major. I think when you go in and a colleague has either been treated unfairly or they're trying to achieve something and they've been unable to achieve that on their own, if you can support them to achieve that, that's ultimately why I became a rep, so that is the most rewarding thing.
Keelie has worked with us for quite some time, so has developed quite a lot of clinical knowledge and expertise. Keelie often contacts me, or we have corridor conversations about maybe some of the things that staff have gone to with her that they feel they can't always come to a manager with, and they just feel they need somebody to bridge that gap and support them. I think the union representatives are there as that neutral person that they feel comfortable with because they'll know them, and they'll feel comfortable to come along to meetings. They've got the knowledge of the working areas, and sometimes they can tell us what it feels like because they're actually there working in those areas with the staff as well.
You do require time away from your job role to be able to fulfil your functions as a union rep. So I think a good working relationship with your line manager is absolutely vital. It is challenging at times balancing the two. You have to have excellent organisational skills and very supportive colleagues, which is something I'm very fortunate to have. It's well documented and well known that happier, more contented staff lead to better patient outcomes, and that's obviously what we all want.
Keelie works within the maternity services. She works with the staff she represents, and she also works with us as managers. So she's got a really good balanced view She's got the credibility with both sides because she knows the services and she knows herself what it feels like to be working in those services and what those staff are experiencing. But she can also turn to, because she understands the managerial side of it as well. So she's just well balanced to be there to provide that role. I meet with them monthly. They come back and they tell me of things that are going out in the clinical areas that staff aren't happy about. So I've got the heads up about those things before it reaches that, like you say, those conflicting times where, so we can nip things in the bud really. So I don't just wait for them to come to me, I proactively go out to them as well.
I've benefited from gaining lots of new experiences, this being one of them. I was very fortunate to be nominated and to win an RCM award in March, which has opened up lots of opportunities for me. So personal development wise, I've gained through masses of new experience. Good personal development, you do gain a whole new peer group within your own branch and within wider union colleagues. You know, you have a whole new network of people to liaise with. And for me, that sense of giving something back, which is ultimately why I became a rep. Now that the RCM have become part of the Trade Union Congress, I think I would like to be actively involved, you know, in being part of that wider organisation. And I think really it's really important in this particular time that we strive to campaign to keep the NHS free at the point of care.
Even though I'm an HR director, I am a registered nurse by background. I'm still registered, qualified and revalidated in fact. And I think it's important that unions see people that know what it's like on the ground. You know, we do things like back to the floor, so we actually see at grassroots what staff are doing with and for the patient. I've often said the NHS will only ever be as good as the staff we put in front of patients and their families.
Whether they're clerical, whether they're nursing, whether they're support staff, whether they're a doctor, whether they're an allied health professional, everybody works together as a team to ensure that we're providing continuity of care for those patients we serve. And it's not that one person matters more than another. So a partnership, everybody has the same equal responsibility and accountability and respect, and that they all matter.
I understand that there's a lot of constraints on NHS trusts and sometimes they have to achieve things that aren't going to be popular. I think good partnership working on the ground is looking at how you can support members to understand the rationale behind things, the reasons why things have to be done, and balance that with the compromises that can be achieved for those members so that at the end of the day the trust can achieve their objectives but members feel happy with the outcome.
On the ground it looks like we've got today, where you walk into a ward and you think this place looks clean, the staff are welcoming, patients are happy, they'll tell you that on surveys, and you think, you know, if I'm ill or I need help, I wouldn't mind coming in the NHS. And I think the partnership working between management and staff and members is vital to that.
If we have staff that feel cared for, valued and respected, and they're well led, then they're going to deliver a higher quality of care. And we all know that higher quality of care does lead to a more productive, efficient ways of working, and that's what we're all striving for today. So the union representative there to make sure that we are caring and doing things right for the staff and listening to them.
The relationship between us and individual NHS employers is vital. We need to work together to achieve the goals. We need to keep our staffing levels, to keep our funding up for patient care. If that relationship breaks down, potentially employers could be accepting deals that aren't going to be good for patients or staff or the NHS's future.